Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe and hit the bell icon for new updates. From the gritty neighborhoods of Atlanta, Georgia, Daryl Raynard Richardson III, better known by his stage name Lil Scrappy, rose to prominence as a key figure in Southern hip-hop. Scrappy was born on January 19, 1984, and his upbringing in Southeast Atlanta, a region rife with crime, poverty, and a survival mentality, influenced his musical path. After his father left the family before he was even born, Scrappy was raised entirely by his mother, Deborah Bryant, also referred to as Mama D. He grew up quickly in an environment that didn't afford him the luxury of childhood. His early exposure to the harsh facts of life, such as his mother's illicit involvement in drug dealing and prostitute management, influenced his unvarnished perspective on the world. His words gained a feeling of urgency and genuineness from this grim reality, which permeated his music and connected with audiences. Before he even made it to high school, Scrappy was singing for his neighborhood audience and writing music at the age of 9. When he returned to Atlanta from a military school in California and began selling CDs and mixtapes on the streets, his perseverance and grassroots work finally paid off. He attracted the notice of Lil Jon, the pioneer of crunk music, who would alter Scrappy's life during one of these performances. Lil Scrappy and Trillville were among the first musicians signed to BME Recordings under Lil Jon's guidance. His rise in the crunk scene, a hip-hop style distinguished by aggressive beats and vivacious delivery, began with this. The collaborative album, The King of Crunk and BME Recordings present Trillville and Lil Scrappy, introduced Scrappy's aggressive, unrepentant sound to a national audience in 2004 and was a commercial success, peaking at number 12 on the Billboard 200. Although he gained recognition with his breakthrough track Head Bussa, his 2006 solo release, Bred to Die, Born to Live, was what really solidified his status in the hip-hop industry. The album, which included 50 Cent, Young Buck, and 3 6 Mafia, and was produced by Lil Jon, produced his biggest success, Money in the Bank, which peaked at number 28 on the Billboard Hot 100. This song, which became his defining anthem, was the result of years of hardship. Even although they didn't equal his previous chart success, his latter works, such as Prince of the South, 2008, Prince of the South 2, 2010, and Thug Russell, 2012, kept him relevant. Scrappy's raw approach, which is firmly anchored in his Southern identity, remained respected despite industry problems. His personal life came into the public eye through his position on reality TV, even if his music career helped establish his reputation. Lil Scrappy became a member of the cast of VH1's popular reality series, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, in 2012. The show follows the relationships, professions, and lives of Atlanta's hip-hop elite. Millions of people have watched Scrappy's romantic relationships, family complexities, and emotional struggles unfold since he made his television debut. Major plot lines have included his sporadic relationship with Erica Dixon, with whom he had a daughter named Imani, and his 2017 marriage to Adiz Bambi Benson. In addition to Bambi, Scrappy had 3 children, Callie, Zylo, and Brayland. Notwithstanding their tender moments together, there has been conflict and strife in their marriage, much of it brought on by Scrappy's prior traumas. Television has exposed these hardships, giving audiences a better understanding of the man behind the music. He was a complicated and approachable figure, who was searching for meaning and tranquility in a world that rarely provided it to him because of his openness and readiness to display vulnerability on screen. Scrappy's relationships, particularly those with his mother and wife, are still impacted by the emotional scars from his past. In 2022, during a contentious and emotional confrontation with Mama D on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Scrappy finally opened up about the long-lasting effects of having a mother involved in the street life. This was one of the most impactful moments in his reality TV story. He addressed her about the suffering and emotional mistreatment he experienced as a youngster, while also acknowledging her sacrifices, especially her contribution to his early music career. He talked of feeling emotionally abandoned and having to make his way through a chaotic environment without the security or comfort that most kids take for granted. Never one to back down, Mama D insisted that her actions ultimately contributed to his success and justified her decisions as being required for survival. But for Scrappy, any tangible advantages were outweighed by the trauma of being exposed to drugs, violence, and prostitution at such an early age. More than just a reality TV drama, the incident marked a turning point in Scrappy's life and demonstrated his resolve to face his darkest moments in order to find healing. Scrappy's marriage to Bambi has been significantly impacted by his complex relationship with his history. Despite being founded on love and common principles, Scrappy's emotional baggage has put their partnership to the test, time and time again. Throughout Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, Scrappy has acknowledged several times that his incapacity to really comprehend the trauma he experienced as a child has caused a rift between him and Bambi. The couple's dynamic demonstrated the difficulties of establishing a good relationship while still recovering from personal traumas, whether it was due to misunderstandings, emotional shutdowns, or outside influences. The wounded man attempting to be a present husband and father frequently clashed with Scrappy's character as the rugged, defiant prince of the South. He has grown over the years in spite of these challenges. He has indicated that he is willing to go to therapy and talk candidly about his difficulties, which is a big step for someone who was brought up in a culture that viewed vulnerability as weakness. For her part, Bambi has served as Scrappy's companion and mirror, reflecting back the aspects of him that he needed to face. Millions of people saw their narrative, which provides a nuanced depiction of love, resiliency, and the emotional work required to end generational cycles. It tells the tale of two people battling their inner demons while managing motherhood and a partnership. Lil Scrappy continues to be a representation of progress and survival despite everything. Scrappy has demonstrated that his path is far from ended, from the streets of Southeast Atlanta to the national platform of crunk music, from emotionally charged reality TV moments to continued musical endeavors. He reintroduced himself to a new generation in 2024 by joining the Millennium Tour, with musicians like Bow Wow and Carrie Hilson, all the while continuing to produce songs that embodies his Southern heritage. His latest single, Fangan, which features Beat King and Suki Hana, shows that he still possesses the vivacity and charm that initially brought him fame. His tale resonates more because of his determination to face his anguish, tell his truth, and pursue healing than because of his music or TV appearances. Daryl Raynard Richardson III is more than simply the rapper and reality personality Lil Scrappy. He is a guy who transformed his tragedy into testimony and his struggles into creativity. His life is a monument to the enduring strength of perseverance, full of highs and lows, success and failure. Scrappy has resisted allowing his past to dictate his destiny against tremendous odds. Rather, he keeps developing as a man, parent, and survivor in addition to as a musician. The 2002 Club Legacy battle wasn't a sporadic outburst. Rather, it was a turning point that would influence Scrappy's ascent in the music business. The atmosphere in that crowded club in Atlanta was electric. The atmosphere was ready for something crazy to happen. The audience was boisterous, and the bass was rattling the walls. A brawl erupted during Scrappy's performance that evening. Some claim it began due of anything he said, while others say it was simply the crowd becoming overly excited. It was hectic nonetheless. The music stopped, fists were flying, and security hurried in. But someone was observing that mayhem. Already a well-known figure in the crunk scene, Lil Jon recognized something genuine and unadulterated in Scrappy. Lil Jon chose to lean in rather than leave the controversy. He noticed a young performer whose anger matched the core energy of the genre. Scrappy stood out because of his enthusiasm, courage, and ability to lead a crowd despite pandemonium. Something continued after that night. It was just the start. Scrappy began the next phase of his career after Lil Jon took him under his wing and signed him to BME Recordings. It was a collaboration forged in the furnace of real life, not in a boardroom. However, that fire persisted after Club Legacy. It spread, if anything. People were inspired to move by Scrappy's electrifying performances, which were loud, intense, and full of energy. But there are risks associated with that type of fire. Music was never the only thing during his shows. They served as emotional battlefields where his past and present collided. The individuals who came to meet him were not merely admirers. They were frequently reflections of the society he came from, sympathetic to his suffering, pride, and rage. And occasionally that relationship became tense. Scrappy didn't back down from conflict. He was revered in part because of that aspect of his personality. However, this also meant that he was always treading carefully. There might be a celebration one evening. The next might become a fight. And from show to show, that unpredictable nature followed him. It was now about survival rather than just hype. Every crowd posed a risk, and every stage presented a fresh challenge. Scrappy knew this. He was doing more than just playing music. Through every lyric, shout, and sweat-soaked performance, he was showcasing his life to the world. And, for better or worse, people reacted. In 2005, that threat followed him all the way to Florida. Nobody knows exactly what caused it, but something went wrong while Scrappy was performing. Perhaps the audience became too boisterous. Perhaps someone said something inappropriate. However, A night of revelry devolved into a spectacle when the cops intervened. Scrappy was forcefully thrown off the stage. It was embarrassing. Although not every detail was captured by the cameras, the reports made it very evident that Scrappy was at the middle of a fight. It might have been the end of a budding star's career. For Scrappy, however, it was just another blow to bear. Pain was nothing new to him. He was adept at falling and rising again. He has spent his entire life doing that. In 2006, he released Bred to Die, Born to Live, a daring declaration of his identity and origins. It was survival, not just music. With the police, however, the violence continued. He was struck in the face with a bottle during another incident. 2 of his front teeth were removed since it broke them. It was more than simply a bodily blow. It also damaged his identity and pride. It was a costly, excruciating injury that altered his look and left him emotionally scarred. Repairing the harm required more than simply surgery. It involved taking back a piece of himself. Scrappy's brand as a rapper was embodied by his looks. When he saw the harm in the mirror, his charisma, his grin, and his self-assurance all suffered. He had to endure the agony of dental surgery and the associated high expenses. Additionally, the emotional fallout persisted even after the physical recovery. When everyone has already witnessed your vulnerability, how can you perform on stage with the same assurance? Scrappy, however, wasn't going to let that break him. Even as things worsened, he persisted. And they did. Years after solidifying his position in hip-hop and reality television, he encountered one of the most difficult obstacles of his life in 2018. Early on June 4th of that summer, Scrappy fell asleep behind the car in Miami and collided with a pole. It was a vicious blow. Scrappy had severe facial injuries and shattered bones, and the car was completely wrecked and twisted beyond recognition. It was a scary moment, and nobody knew if he would survive for a while. The collision served as more than simply a warning. It was a pivotal moment. After being taken to the hospital, Scrappy was stabilized by medical professionals. He had a shattered foot. He had severe facial injuries. He was unable to walk. He was unable to perform. The man who was constantly moving and who based his identity on his strength and presence was suddenly bedridden in a hospital and would have to recuperate for months. That would have been the end of the road, or at least a lengthy detour for the majority of people. Scrappy, however, remained. He opened the door for the globe. He chose to let love and hip-hop. Atlanta's cameras record his struggle rather than go into hiding. Season 7 chronicled his grueling recuperation, revealing to viewers the true toll the accident had on his physical and mental well-being. Every step, from the hospital to the home rehab, was captured on camera. While his mother, Mama D, brought her typical pandemonium, his wife Bambi supported him. It wasn't simple. Both physically and emotionally, Scrappy was hurting. He persisted, nevertheless. He regained his ability to walk. He grinned once more. His son Breland, who was born in September 2018, a few months after the disaster, is a stunning reminder of what truly counts. Scrappy had a new perspective as a result of that near-death encounter. The crash felt like one of the few really private moments for a man who had spent so much of his life in the spotlight, until he decided to share it. He didn't act empathetically. It was real, so he did it. And Scrappy's strength has always been reality, both brutal and therapeutic. That strength was put to the test once more in 2022, not in a battle or an accident, but in a false rumor. Suddenly, word got out on the internet that Lil Scrappy had passed away. The origin of the narrative was unknown. Some believed it to be a mean joke. Before verifying the information, some people shared posts and tributes, believing it at first. The moment was unreal. Still very much alive, Scrappy ended up reading his own death notice. He answered, however, in the only manner he knew how, with heart, instead of becoming irate or running away. He showed the world that he was still alive and well on Instagram. His account was overflowing with videos of him having fun with his kids. He shared pictures of himself and his family online, grinning broadly and with pride. He wrote, "I'm good, fam," calmly and confidently, putting an end to the notion. His supporters exhaled in relief. For Scrappy, however, the event went beyond simply dispelling a fake. It served as yet another reminder of how quickly untrue information can proliferate and how little authority celebrities frequently have over their own tales. By being present and demonstrating the truth in his day-to-day activities, he regained that authority. He was living, not merely surviving. However, beneath his might lay deeper, still open wounds. Scrappy had gone through a heartbreak in front of the entire world years before to the death hoax. He had fallen in love with another Atlanta rapper named Diamond, whose true name was Brittany Nicole Carpenter. Following his breakup with Erica Dixon, they began dating and were the hip-hop scene's power couple for a period. In 2011, with hopes of a future together, Scrappy even proposed. But when Diamond cheated on him with Soulja Boy, that fantasy was dashed. It was not a private betrayal. While Scrappy was still in shock, Soulja Boy made sure of that by showing off their new connection. Scrappy had to cope with the heartache of being in the spotlight after Diamond left his life. He called her out and confronted the humiliation head-on Love and Hip Hop, expressing his disgust. Such betrayal is painful, not only because of lost love but also because of pride and reputation. For Scrappy, who had endured a lot as a child and battled his way onto the field, losing a loved one in such a public manner was devastating. Supporters choose sides. The headlines went crazy in the media. And Scrappy had to keep going through it all. His music was an expression of his emotions. He concentrated on restoring his heart as well as his career. He ultimately fell in love once more. He created something stronger with Bambi. In 2017, they tied the knot and began a family. It wasn't flawless. As always, there were difficulties. But he had something tangible this time. Scrappy has persevered despite heartbreak, assault, near-death situations, and online lies. He has changed since the altercation at Club Legacy in 2002. He has matured, evolved, and persevered. However, his tenacity hasn't altered. His story is held together by that thread. Not only has he survived the streets, but he has also survived fame, treachery, and all the things in between. And Scrappy will always have a place in the culture that reared him as long as he continues to stand and share his narrative.